Yeah, I'm pumped after that one. You better believe I deserve that high five, Ricky. Coming in on that unicorn and basically, saving Team Norway. Yeah, I gotta say this. People think that the business end of a unicorn is a horn. I'm telling you, I'm here today to tell you that's different. And what comes out of there? It ain't cupcakes and rainbows, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I don't know how to follow up something like that as good as me, but we're gonna try here. This is the post game show with Stan Partus. And coming up, we got the creator of this adventure, Josh Jenne. And old Zajac, he's going to blab on to him about Kickstarter. I'm sure he's asking for a friend, but it does sound like an interesting story. So let's take a look.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Josh, again to Josh Jenne for joining us in the DM's Lounge after the adventure and doing this a second time just because I thought of a better question I wanted to ask you. So thanks again.
No problem.
So I wanted to talk to you about Kickstarter because I think it's something that captivates the imagination, and it is like the kind of common way that people, third-party people, get into publishing stuff, right? They're not traditionally going through big publishers. It's all through Kickstarter. So from when you decided, yeah, I'm going to do that, what were the steps that you took? What did you have a following first? Did you write first? Did you approach Kickstarter first? I don't know.
So for the first book, I took the approach of writing it first, which I don't take that approach now. I can explain why later, but just to rewind back, I had seen other Kickstarters that had launched, and I bought some third-party content. And I was like, I can make content just as good or better than this. And seeing the big numbers was always exciting. But the first thing I did was a ton of research because I had just been laid off of my corporate job for the third time in my career due to a hostile takeover. So I wanted to market my own products instead of marketing other people's products, getting their business big, and then getting laid off once it gets acquired by another company. So for this one, for Midnight Mayhem, which was our first launch, I just sat down and it was 5 a.m. on a Friday, and I had a previous idea that I was writing, that I'd been writing all week, and I hated it. I'm a week into the company, and I hate what I'm writing, and I had a different idea. Or no, I went through my, I keep a spreadsheet of ideas. And I was going through that spreadsheet just randomly at 5 a.m. and I saw the idea for Midnight Mayhem. And so I was like, hey, this idea is fire. Let's do this one. So I can either go to bed or I can just start writing it. And, financial gun to my head, I started writing, and 2 weeks, Alexa off. Sorry about that. I think it took like a week to write and 2 weeks to edit. My college professor always says writing is rewriting. And I try to tell people that, especially people who are trying to write for money or for a living, or just as a hobby, because most people put down one sentence in Microsoft Word and then give up on it. And it just exists in their head when, you can write and put down all the garbage that you want because it starts forming. It's there's a metaphor where I call it the goo. You just need to throw the goo onto the paper, and then it starts to solidify and form. But back to the original question.
So you did the writing first, and then once you had your something that you were happy enough with, how did you go about getting it onto Kickstarter? Did you generate interest first through building a community, or did that happen through Kickstarter?
You definitely have to build a community first. If you just go in raw and put it up on Kickstarter, no one's going to give a shit. Most creators are not business people. And, when I worked in like dental marketing or like health marketing, dentists are not business people. Most, doctors are not business people. Most writers are not business people. So you definitely have to take a business approach because it doesn't matter how good it is. the product that it is that you wrote if no one sees or hears about it? So you definitely have to build your own audience. And I kind of messed up on this one because I only marketed it for 5 weeks because I had my financial timeline of, hey, I need money. And so the launch was late August. I started writing in June, marketed for 5 weeks, and then launched like late August, August 28th or something.
Okay, so it must have been your experience in marketing then that you're like, okay, I know that I'm going to need this much time, and this is where I'm going to try and market it. So, is it the case that basically you started with no community, and in 5 weeks you marketed it to build some hype, or was that?
Yes. So I've been on the consumer side a lot. I am kind of the target demographic. You're the target demographic. A lot of my friends are the target demographic. So, the first thing you want to do is look at your demographics and how they purchase things. And, for the way I built the community is through Facebook ads, which, I had a lot of experience running ads. So, you want to build hype for the product, get it in front of, that Dungeons and Dragons audience, and then take them to a landing page or take them to the Kickstarter page and turn them into a follow. And that's, your sales funnel. So for Midnight Mayhem, what I did is I made ads for it. And I had two sets of ads, one that went directly to the Kickstarter page to generate Kickstarter followers, and then one that generated emails from my email list. We joke around that the god MailChimp is always here to take their tithe because MailChimp is pretty expensive, but they know what they're doing. So the math behind that, and most of what I do is math and numbers and logistics. So, and switching from business Josh to writing Josh is different, but the math on it is that you make the ads, you build the audience, and then you want a big audience going into the project so that you have a really strong day one. And that gives you social proof because, you see on Kickstarter, like, I have my next launch coming out in like 3 weeks, and it's got 200 followers right now on the Kickstarter platform itself. But then I have like 2,000 emails just that I've generated through, ads and other stuff. So you definitely want to build that pre-launch audience.
You were kind of positioned in a way that like a lot of people wouldn't, who may have the interest or maybe even the skills to write and complete something, from your kind of day job. You learned how to market it, and so you're like, no, you had the confidence to go like, oh, okay, I need this much amount of time, I can spend this much amount of money, and I've seen it happen before that it's going to return. Something along the lines of, you had a reasonable expectation of what you needed to do and what you'd probably get from it.
Yes, it's all math, and with a lot the research I did, it's all on the internet for free. It's all like Launch Boom taught me a lot about what I know, because there's kickstarting or crowdfunding is a huge market, but mathematically, and I think I might go into like Kickstarter consulting or launch consulting just because of the wealth of knowledge I have.
You should do that because you're at the cross section of those interests, which is I'd say if not unique, pretty close to it. So
yeah, so like mathematically, on average, 20% of your Kickstarter followers will convert on day one, and then about with email, it's weird. It's like 5 to 15% of your email list will convert on day one, and that really depends on how strong your email list is. My email list is not that great. It's about a 5% conversion rate right now, because I generate leads by a lot of free content. So for Midnight Mayhem, it's a Thieves Guild adventure. There's 7 jobs to choose from. You only have 3. You only have enough time to do 3. And then the hook is, your party through coercion or free will is being forced to do these crimes. So either like the MacGuffin that your party needs is being held by the Thieves Guild, or you're being blackmailed, or you like money and you got hired by the Thieves Guild to, commit all these crimes. So I forgot where I was going with that. It's early for me.
no, so I guess that's it. Is the the marketing of it that you knew the time frame. and just were able to do it because of your previous stuff. Okay, so tell us about what you're working on next, just so people know what to look for on Kickstarter.
So I just launched Drop-In Villains and Factions. This is the draft. But right now I'm doing a digital only release. Taking a break from the print. It is called it's a series called Drop-In Dungeons, and this one is the Sanctum of Ill Omens. One of the villains in here, my favorite villain. Well, they're all my favorite. Isabella's my favorite. But my other favorite, Giselle Fatebound, she's a villain in here, and we put in an adventure plot for each villain, and the dungeon ties into her adventure plot. So if you did want to use that villain in your book, in your adventure, and then for Act 2 you needed the dungeon for that, we have the drop-in dungeon for that now. But it's still open-ended, it's still modular. You can run it in pretty much any campaign. And
I really did like that about the adventure that we ran and about your stuff, is that you can fit it into other campaigns easily. Yeah, that's great. Mm-hmm. Okay, so last thing I just wanted to touch on your shirt, which is leopard print press, but maybe also because you're in Las Vegas. I don't know.
They're very tied together. There's a story behind the name of the company.
Cool. Okay. Thanks so much for coming back again, and that was really interesting to me, and a cool story. And you're in a good place with both those skill sets, the writing and marketing. Wow. Okay, Josh, thanks for being with us, and hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, you as well.
Okay, there you have it. And that was an interesting story. I'm surprised that it sounds like to me, essentially, Josh, wrote something up, and then he had the skills to take like 5 weeks and like, blammo, I'm putting it on Kickstarter, which I thought it would have taken a lot longer, but what do I know? I'm just a barbarian. So once again, we'll find ourselves at the end of an episode, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.